Hello and welcome to another of our policy deep dives where we focus on seminal policy moves by the Japanese government. Today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and the issues that surround its adoption in Japan. We'll be looking at some of the use cases of AI, in particular in healthcare, and the regulatory issues that intersect the development of AI in Japan. In 2022, OpenAI's product ChatGPT was released to the world, capturing immediate and widespread attention. Initially, fears emerged around how well its model was localized to Japan. Some articles and research findings reported that the Japanese text produced by ChatGPT were easily distinguishable from the normally human-produced text. However, the performance of large language models in Japanese grew proportionately with exposure to more training data available digitally in the Japanese language, and combined with improvements in the model itself, proliferation among Japanese users accelerated. In 2024, citing a survey conducted by Nikkei Research targeting 506 Japanese firms, Reuters stated the obvious by reporting that 60% of businesses said their primary objective for using AI was to cope with a shortage of Japanese workers. 53% were aiming to cut labor costs, and 36% of those firms surveyed said AI was accelerating their R&D efforts. According to the same report, 35% of these 506 companies reported plans to expedite the implementation of AI systems into business operations. The same report revealed that anxieties and hesitations around AI adoption included a lack of technological expertise, prohibitive capital expenditure requirements, and general overarching concerns about reliability. Other specific management concerns about AI implementation included anxiety among employees over headcount reduction. This touches on an adjacent issue that plays a role in affecting the eagerness of Japanese businesses to adopt and implement AI. 15% of businesses polled reported directly experienced a cyber attack, and 9% knew of business partners who had suffered from one. Of these, 23% resulted in complete cessation of activities, and 4% resulted in critical information leakage. Businesses responded by outsourcing cybersecurity efforts, 47%, or hiring in-house specialists with 38%. The ransomware attack of a video sharing platform owned by a major publishing company, Kadokawa, in June 2024 served as a flashpoint for anxieties in Japan around inadequate cybersecurity measures. This also dovetailed with the Kishida administration push to strengthen its own nascent active cybersecurity defense provisions. According to a late 2024 report by Japan's Internet Promotion Agency, which is a government-funded agency for digital technologies, a global study performed by KPMG held that Japan was generally lower in all metrics surrounding trust in AI. This, of course, comes as no surprise to those who know the Japanese market. There is always hesitancy towards novel interventions initially. Everything just takes more time here. Nevertheless, Japan was in line with the global average in at least acknowledging the benefits of AI outweighing the risks. Among the Japanese citizens more generally, 75% of those asked said that AI provides benefits, and half reported already using applications that involve AI systems. Another survey conducted by PwC and cited by the same IPA report found that among Japanese companies with sales of 50 billion yen or more, the use of generative AI rose rapidly between spring of 2023 and spring of 2024. Usage was essentially negligible before that, and then shot to over 40% within 12 months. The same survey also measured the level of AI adoption according to industry, identifying 4 separate industry groupings. Of these, those characterized as pioneers possessed strong momentum around generative AI use. Pioneers are mostly found in the communications and technology industries. Industries where adoption was rising included hospitality, financial services, and real estate. Areas where adoption may well be significant but could be slowing down included healthcare, pharmaceuticals, automobiles, and logistics. Industries where the level of promotion remains relatively low and the use of generative AI is yet to be seen include chemicals, consumer goods, beverages, and retail. Other insights garnered from the IPA report showed that Japanese CEOs responded less favorably compared to those in the US, Europe, and China. In fact, when asked about the extent to which generative AI will increase efficiencies in employees' time, efficiencies in their own time, profitability, and revenue, Japanese CEOs reported higher expectations than the global average. They anticipated that generative AI would increase cybersecurity risk, spread misinformation, increase legal liabilities, and reveal or emphasize biases towards specific groups of customers or employees. The IPA report reported that a lack of human resources and experience was the biggest challenge to implementation of generative AI in their businesses. So the state of play as of today is a market that is duly cautious, as Japan often is, but poised and eager to reap the benefits of AI adoption. The mood amongst those who interact with Japanese executives looking to implement AI systems into their operations is buoyant, with the vast majority having experience with products like ChatGPT and appreciating what it can provide. The recent meeting between SoftBank's Masayoshi Son and President Trump highlights and enhances this. Indeed, part of the success of OpenAI's release of ChatGPT and the boom in interest in large language models lies in how viscerally exciting it is to be able to communicate with a computer in a natural language and have it solve such a wide range of problems. Let's take a look at some of the AI use cases. Throughout rural Japan, agriculture is being hugely impacted by AI, driving efficiency and improving yields. From precision farming to supply chain optimization, AI applications span the entire agricultural value chain, and not just in rice production. Development has brought about significant improvements in crop monitoring, allowing farmers to detect diseases, nutrient deficiencies, and pest infestations in real time. Predictive analytics powered by AI helps optimize planting schedules, irrigation, and fertilizer use, ensuring resources are allocated efficiently while minimizing waste. Automated machinery, including self-driving tractors and robotic harvesters, further enhances productivity by reducing labor dependency. In Japan, a consortium led by the National Agricultural and Food Research Organization, NARO, launched a smart agriculture application to help farmers identify agricultural pests. The initiative incorporated specialized non-public information such as research data, cultivation materials, and farming instruction records owned by the Japan agricultural cooperatives. This proprietary information was amassed to train an AI model on Japan-specific data, including distinct crop characteristics and cultivation methods tailored to the soil and weather conditions here. Where the average age of a Japanese farmer is 69 years old and the number of farmers is set to decrease to 300,000 individuals nationwide, the government of Japan is obviously compelled to explore these opportunities to boost efficiency and to continue to feed the nation. In the defense industry, too, AI systems are developing rapidly, with proliferation growing. Japan's defense budget is in the middle of a 5-year phase to spend 2% of GDP, so autonomous systems such as drones and unmanned ground and sea vehicles, which leverage AI for surveillance, reconnaissance, and combat operations, have been hugely impacted. Machine learning algorithms process vast amounts of data from sensors and satellites, enabling real-time threat detection, battlefield analysis, and predictive maintenance for critical equipment. Advanced AI-driven simulations are also transforming military training, providing realistic scenarios to prepare personnel for complex situations. In this context, however, the integration of AI in defense raises ethical concerns, particularly around autonomous weapons systems and decision-making accountability. In July 2024, the Defense Ministry decided upon its first basic policy around AI, identifying several key areas for utilization of AI. These were primarily collecting and analyzing vast amounts of data from social media, assisting commanders in decision-making, improving logistical support, including the forecasting of equipment demand, controlling drones and other vehicles, enhancing cybersecurity, increasing administrative efficiency, and the like. The ministry also highlighted the need to keep pace with developments in the US and in China. In particular, the 2024 Defense Ministry White Paper remarked upon China's successful demonstration of a swarm flight consisting of 200 AI-equipped drones and cautioned that this method has the possibility to overwhelm traditional air defense capabilities. One can speculate on the cultural factors that will be at play in catalyzing the adoption of AI systems and tools, notably Japan's long cultural affinity for robotics. But as most of us already appreciate, demographics undoubtedly plays a key role in this discussion. In healthcare, Japan is a leader in many areas of medical care, including technologies and the treatment, but the healthcare system is under stress. The usual suspects are the rapidly aging population and a shrinking workforce. This means that the ratio of patients to specialists has risen precipitously. Progress is being made. Running out of the Prime Minister's Cabinet Office, a cross-ministerial strategic innovation promotion program for the development of innovative AI hospital systems is developing an array of AI tools in support of delivering a more efficient healthcare system-wide. Issues facing Japanese doctors include the fact that despite the nation's highly advanced medical technologies, Japan's hospital IT systems often lag. Healthcare professionals can spend around a third of their time updating patient records. Meanwhile, the sheer diversity of diagnostic tests and techniques that has ballooned in recent years requires precious doctor time to review and process. Furthermore, advanced modern medicine is highly data-driven, and the need to interpret this data often outstrips the capacity of medical professionals. Automated record keeping is ripe to be the major component of value that AI systems can provide in a healthcare context. Japan's affinity for robotics also comes in handy in this sector, with AI assistance robots able to aid in roles such as PET scans, which ordinarily need to be monitored so as to limit the radiation that radiology technicians are exposed to, and even helping to facilitate emergency room triaging. AI can also be used to mine the huge amount of patient data that is generated every day in hospitals throughout Japan, allowing timely insights into diseases. By analyzing this vast amount of disease data, treatment can be improved and risk factors identified in helping develop better and more personalized patient treatment plans. Equipping hospitals with IoT, Internet of Things, patient wearable devices will further rapidly scale up the delivery of comprehensive data-driven healthcare. But again, timing is a factor. In other areas, liquid biopsies allow AI-driven analysis to be undertaken at a molecular level by analyzing the molecules that cancers shred into the bloodstream compared to the conventional tissue sampling treatment. A valid response can be assessed in a matter of weeks or even quicker rather than in months. Even with more traditional endoscopic imaging-based methods of cancer detection, AI models can be used to analyze the images and supplement physician analysis, detecting the presence or absence of cancer in a fraction of a second with as much as 94% accuracy. Similar technology can allow AI models trained on hundreds of thousands of throat images to diagnose influenza. Another device, coined the super stethoscope, digitizes the information from the heart monitor and performs analysis for detection of heart disease, another nod to the possibilities AI systems provide for remote diagnosis. With this sort of momentum and government backing of the rollout of AI technologies in the medical field, there are still hurdles, often regulatory in nature. The process of AI-equipped technology to be approved for use in a clinical setting is already long. Back in early 2023, only 30 AI medical devices had obtained pharmaceutical approval. Getting approval can take over a year, and what's more, each upgrade requires a new round of scrutiny even after the approval has been first granted. And the technology is just growing by leaps and bounds. To deal with this, a 16-company consortium was formed to urge the Japanese government to establish a review and approval scheme for medical devices, as well as to initiate an expedited approval process. In September of 2023, the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare and the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry set up the Dash for SAMD, or Digital Transformation Action Strategies in Healthcare for Software as a Medical Device. It's a mouthful, but it's aimed at expediting approval and strengthening support for AI healthcare tools. Another hurdle facing healthcare providers is the necessity of obtaining insurance for the use of AI medical devices. This allows individuals to receive reimbursement for the use of these devices in medical treatment, further proliferating their use. Here we see how the adoption of AI comes up against the regulatory or the bureaucratic inaction that frequently follows technology. This ties into a discussion of one of the key resources of AI, namely the vast amount of data required to train AI models. Indeed, data is in many ways the lifeblood of the industry. Without the data, there would be no models. And much of this is in the personal information vein. The legal issues surrounding generative AI revolve around copyright, both at the training stage and at the use stage. Information scraped from the internet is often used without permission, and many tech companies are cavalierly incorporating the right to use information contributed by their users. Individuals and media company stakeholders are becoming concerned that their information is being used to build these models. Web scraping tools such as GPT-Bot, created by OpenAI, are increasingly being blocked by some of the most popular websites as a result. Online platforms that are common sources of training data are starting to demand payment for its use. Even authors are launching lawsuits against tech companies, alleging uncompensated use of their intellectual property. AI companies are responding by trying to reduce legal risks. The major tech companies have stopped disclosing the data that they use to train their models, partially to remain competitive, but also to reduce legal exposure. So a lot is going on under the surface here. Those with an inclination for further legalese will find literature to peruse regarding the legal utilization of data. Whereas the common legal defense in the US for a situation like this would be the fair use clause, there is no general defense directly analogous to this in the Japanese Copyright Act. Instead, the Act in Japan provides an exclusive list of defenses covering specific situations in which copyrighted works may be used without owner authorization. The Act was amended in 2018 with the aim of broadening the scope of these exemptions, keeping the need for innovation in mind, and allowing the use of copyrighted works, but only provided that such use does not negatively impact the market. Specifically, Article 30-4 of the Act allows that a work may be exploited in cases where it is not the purpose of the exploiter to personally enjoy the thoughts contained in the work. There is also hesitancy around the handling of data and maintaining required standards of data privacy. All companies in Japan must adhere to the APPI, which is the Act on the Personal Protection of Information. Serious concerns arise around whether the handling of data involved in the use of an AI model constitutes transfer of that information to a third party, particularly when such transfers transcend national legal boundaries. These are really thorny issues. Some of the concerns surrounding application in these contexts, for example, where companies need to use an AI model to handle sensitive data, is alleviated upon deeper understanding of the technical processes. In particular, a technique known as RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation, enables AI models to respond to queries by fetching information from external to the company's sources, but the information itself remains at that source and does not become incorporated into the model itself. It should be noted, however, that risk still arises around the use of prompt injection to glean information from these databases. Digitizing and organizing these company resources, which in Japan can be often in an analog form, remains a key part of the process of implementation. Generally speaking, this is an area where Japan has so far stayed regulatorily light, so the majority of the litigious action appears to be taking place outside of Japan. Aside from the data required for these systems, the computational hardware resources required are immense. This discussion most commonly revolves around GPUs, or graphic processing units. These chips, initially developed for digital image processing, are capable of the parallel processing required to run the vast amounts of calculation involved in building AI models. NVIDIA is one key provider of these chips, and a persistent concern is the fragility of the global supply chain. Movement is afoot to develop the capacity for provision of AI critical hardware within Japan. Case in point, the recent announcement of the Rapidus plant in Hokkaido, which is slated to begin construction of AI-capable processors in 2027. In November 2024, the Ishiba administration announced $65 billion in government funding through 2030 to support the semiconductor industry, with much of it allocated to Rapidus. And in December, LCD manufacturer Sharp announced an agreement with mobile phone carrier KDDI to build an artificial intelligence data center in Sakai, Osaka. The most recent development on this front is the announcement of the Stargate project, a joint venture between OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle, and Emirati investment firm MGX. SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son will be the chairman of the venture, which will aim to build around $500 billion worth of AI infrastructure and will allow OpenAI to move away from its dependence on Microsoft's Azure computing infrastructure. Although in this case, the data centers will be located in the US, the development highlights the global explosion in construction of this kind of infrastructure. Running these data centers is an immense energy-intensive process, and the establishment of appropriate energy infrastructure is no less a part of the challenge. In Hokkaido, where on top of the Rapidus plant, companies like SoftBank are also looking to invest in data centers, annual power demand is expected to increase by 1.2% year on year. This compares to a nationwide average of 0.6%. By 2034, demand in Hokkaido is expected to be around 34 terawatt hours. This raises questions around electricity production. The spotlight on nuclear power as an option is particularly keen in Hokkaido. Here, the Tomari nuclear plant's 3 reactors are undergoing safety evaluation by Japan's atomic regulator, a potentially multi-year process. The region also draws interest as a location for renewable energy projects like offshore wind farms. An interesting component of this discussion on data center energy infrastructure is that of SMRs, or small modular reactors. These, or even their more diminutive counterparts, microreactors, are nuclear reactors that can run factories or even cities. These can be shipped to operational sites, though they were initially designed for ballistic missile submarines. There is strong interest in using these as viable options to power data centers. It is important to note that at this point, the emergence of DeepSeek, a Chinese company which last month released R1, its own open source large language model, which performs comparatively to other contemporary models, but which has been trained for a fraction of the cost and uses significantly less computational power. Japan's current regulatory framework for AI remains relatively light, reflecting a deliberate approach to fostering innovation while minimizing restrictions. In contrast, the European Union has taken a pioneering stance with its AI Act, the world's first comprehensive legislation dedicated to regulating artificial intelligence. This landmark framework is not only ambitious, but also expansive in scope, embodying the so-called Brussels effect, wherein EU regulations often set global standards. Notably, the 2024 AI Act extends its reach outside its borders, applying even to AI providers outside the EU if their services are accessible to EU users. You might recall that we discussed the Brussels effect in an earlier policy deep dive. A particular feature of the EU AI Act is its risk-based approach. The Act classifies AI systems into 4 categories according to the risk of causing harm. Unacceptable risk systems are prohibited. High-risk systems are subject to quality, transparency, human oversight, and safety obligations and must be evaluated throughout their life cycle. Limited risk systems are subject to transparency requirements. And finally, minimal risk systems are not regulated. Given this dynamic, Japan's light touch regulatory environment may be only a temporary state. The Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry has been actively positioning Japan as a leader in AI innovation and governance. This ambition, combined with growing international regulatory momentum, suggests that Japan will likely introduce more robust policies in the near future to align with global trends in the evolving AI landscape. This is clearly a policy area to watch. We at Langley Esquire will continue to report on this hugely impactful issue. But for now, this concludes our discussion of emerging issues related to AI and their intersection with Japan. With the discussion spanning the gamut of topics from chatbots to nuclear reactors, the development of AI is so exciting precisely because of the breadth of its scope and the opportunities for business it presents. Thank you for listening today, and if you have any questions or would like a deeper analysis on this or other issues, please give us a call. In the meantime, our next policy deep dive will be in March.